It feels so good to be back.
Welcome back to another season, my second season of Unsportsmanlike Conduct. I am the host, Matthew Geller. As always, I got everything covered today. College football, NFL football, I got some boxing stuff, so I ain't got time to sit here and chit chat with you. I got to get straight into this. After the 2017 bowl season, the Big Ten looked like it was unstoppable, literally unstoppable. Every team won except for one that shouldn't even be in the Big Ten anyway. So really, honestly, the Big Ten had a clean sweep. And the MAC school that resides in Ann Arbor lost their bowl game, but nobody cares. Nobody expects anything. Even their trashy U of M fans don't even care about that. But literally the rest of the country was like, wow, the Big Ten just blew through everybody. And so coming into this season, into the 2018 season, Ohio State had a question at quarterback. Penn State lost Saquon Barkley. Michigan State was bringing back 19 to 22 starters. Everybody's just loaded and ready to go. And the season kicks off, and I'm not saying that the Big Ten still isn't a power conference. It's not the power conference. I don't know, because there's some questions after the first couple weeks of the season. Penn State goes to overtime against App State. Yes, Wolverines. That App State right there that came in and beat you when they was like D7 or whatever they were, came in. The biggest upset in the history of college football, which from my vantage point, it wasn't an upset. I thought App State had better talent then. I think they've got better talent now. Their fans look better. Their cheerleaders look better. Everything about App State's better than Michigan anyway, so it's not really an upset. But anyway, I didn't think that it would ever happen again. And, they've since moved into D1, but they go into Happy Valley, and Penn State struggles in overtime to beat them. And in fairness to Penn State, they've been rolling ever since. They've just been punishing teams ever since. But it was that tough little glitch they had in week one. And then, if you remember correctly, Ohio State was trailing TCU after three quarters. It took a fourth quarter surge for them to kick it in and beat Texas Christian. And, the Big Ten is like, Wisconsin, gets – I don't even know what happened against Brigham Young. I don't even know how you lose to Brigham Young at home. It's just like, ugh, this is terrible. As the Big Ten just looks awful. And, of course, you see Rudy stick it to them clowns from Ann Arbor on opening day. And, of course, everyone knows I'm a diehard Spartan. And when the season, any season starts, everybody's excited and, there's no limit to what we can do this year. But when you bring back 19 to 22 starters off of 10-3 teams, there's expectation. And those expectations are high. And we come into Spartan Stadium week one, and, you get in there and you start looking, and it's like, how did you have a year, 6 months to prepare for this, and nobody's prepared? The coaches aren't prepared. The players aren't prepared. It's funny this. I was at that game. And it was warm, but a lot of Michigan State players were cramping. And believe it or not, Utah State was playing in the same elements on the same field with the same heat, and they weren't over there cramping. Their best players were out there. Michigan State players keep running off, cramping, conditioning. Their conditioning is awful. Mike Valenti wants to hold Ken Manning, the strength and conditioning coach, responsible. I don't know. A lot of players I talk to swear by him. But I don't know how you don't come in prepared after you have an entire summer to work out. You have the whole offseason to get prepared for this game, and you're just not prepared. Physically, you were not prepared for that game. They squeezed in a victory and whatever. So week two is like, okay, we got that one behind us. We're ready to go. And they go out to Tempe, and they just look like a terrible football team. Their quarterback, Brian Lewerke, is not ready for that. L.J. Scott hasn't been prepared all year. He's not a D1 caliber running back, in my opinion. You know, whatever he is, Connor Haywood's way better than him. I saw flashes from Ladarius Jefferson in that game. You know, but Connor Haywood should be the starter of that team. Mark D'Antonio won't make that decision because he's loyal to his players, you know, that stay all 4 years, and he did it with Andrew Maxwell. You know, he did it with Le'Veon Bell and Eddie Baker. Didn't want to make the change, and now he's going to do the same thing with Connor Haywood and L.J. Scott, even though Connor Haywood should be in there. So, you know, Lewerke did not look very good. The defense looked better in the second game. They looked terrible in the first game. There's just a lot of problems there. And I have to attribute that to a lot to Coach D'Antonio, and it kills me to say that because he revived this program and he turned it into a national powerhouse. Michigan State is a powerhouse in football, and D'Antonio is the one responsible for this. But when you get a lion's share of the credit, you have to take the blame too. And I just don't believe that these players are being coached up as well as they could. They've lost some assistants. A lot of the assistants has left. Warner is not a good and I don't know if it's Warner so much as D'Antonio wants the final decision in it. And you've got to open this offense up. You know, you've got a talented quarterback and you've got receivers with playmakers out there, Felton Davis. You got to get out there and make plays, and they're just not making these plays. And that offense just looked anemic in that game. It was embarrassing. I'm a diehard, and I'm going to stay with Michigan State forever. But they've got to do better. Their assistants got to do better, and that inevitably falls at the feet of the head coach. So I got to say, Mark D'Antonio is 100% responsible for this, and they need to get it turned around. He said they'll bounce back. I don't know what's really left of this season. You know, when you lose, a lot of people say now when you start out the season with a loss in week one, you've got time to clean it up and, you know, get back into the college football playoff bowl picture. But, you know, if you go out and lose a 20-19 game, like, oh, it was right there. But, you know, that's not the case. So 16-13, they just look terrible against an unranked team. Now, clearly Arizona State's ranked now, but they're not very good. They're not ranked. They're just not a good team. And Michigan State should have been a 10 to 14 point favorite over them. They have more talent. It's just Michigan State's just a better program than them. And you go in there and get pushed around. So I don't have a lot of faith in the season. The way that Ohio State is running through people, the way that Penn State got turned around after their week one near crises, tells me that's 2 L's right there, you know. And if it wasn't for having that team out of Ann Arbor on the schedule there, that'd be one less victory. You know, you get a bye week against Michigan that week, so it's good. But a lot of problems right now for Sparty, and you know, it kills me to say this in week 3 of the season, but boy, I don't have a lot of faith in this season. I don't, you know. So, anyway, Spartan football. That's where it's at right now, and I'm hoping that things get turned around. They got to get better. You know, this team has got to get better. They got to get better soon. You know, I don't foresee Lewerke leaving for the NFL this year. You know, he's graded himself out at a C+ and a B- through 2 games so far, and I actually had him at D and D+, and D. You know, he's just you're a redshirt junior. You've been here for 4 years now. You've had three full seasons, and into the 4th season, you've had plenty enough time to know this system and know what to do. You know, ironically, during the summer, I ended up going to the stadium one day, and I got a chance to go in and look around the new locker room and talk with some people there. But I ended up running into Rocky Lombardi's dad while I was in the practice building, and his dad had told me that they were tinkering with the offense, and a lot of the players that come to Michigan State as of recently, these pro-style quarterbacks, you know, Michigan State's been getting, you know, Michigan, they're not going to go to Alabama, they're not going to go to those places because, you know, D'Antonio's putting quarterbacks in the NFL, and if you're a parent of a kid has NFL dreams, aspirations, then you want them to go to some place where you know it's tried and tested and true. And Michigan State is that. But some of the parents who have children or young men who are in this program right now are a little concerned by the fact that Coach D'Antonio or Warner or somebody in the offense is messing with their, I don't know, their system. And I don't have enough knowledge to know what is the do's and don'ts of that. But I do know this. If for a decade or better you've been getting these top tier quarterbacks coming in, wanting to come in from other, you've got Lewerke coming in from different state, Kirk Cousins was here, but, Connor Cook, these guys coming in from other states to play football, Messiah Weaver, and you're getting these 4- and 5-star quarterbacks. It would seem like you would do whatever you could to make sure that you run the offense that you told them that they were going to be a part of, and then when you change it, you're questioning why these guys are transferring, and it just doesn't make much sense to me, But again, I don't have enough knowledge of what goes on inside to comment about it intelligently. I'm just relaying some of the information that was passed along to me, and I'm hoping that that's not the case, that Michigan State gets this turned around and they are a factor in the Big Ten and get a chance to play for the championship, because I really, really expected that this year, and it's disappointing for them to be 1-1 after 2 weeks. Whatever. So anyway, NFL news. Now, this every season again, as well NFL and college, it seems like all fans are like, yeah, this is our year. Well, unfortunately, Lions fans are so delusional. Year after year, no matter what. We have never, ever been to a Super Bowl, but this is our year. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't, the prices and, this mediocre team is like, I don't believe that this is year, but everybody else believes this is year. So week 1. Monday Night Football. Here come the Lions. I'm going to put them on national TV on Monday night to open the 2018 campaign against the lowly, and I mean lowly, New York Jets. And 17-17, I believe at the break, and the second half, the New York Jets just put it to the Detroit Lions. And I remember I told you this last year. You don't know what you're going to get with Matt Patricia. You have no idea, because his boss, who is arguably the greatest NFL football coach of all time, you don't know how much of a hand that Bill Belichick had in Matt Patricia's success, if he had any success at all. I don't know if it was Bill Belichick or Matt Patricia, so it's really a wild card. And if you notice, a lot of Bill Belichick's assistants have not panned out. You can just go down the list: Josh McDaniels, Romeo Crennel, Charlie Wise. Just this list just goes on and on and on of guys that just failed after they leave Bill Belichick, And Matt Patricia gets in here, and it's 17-17, and they come out and they just get bullied, pushed around, punk mugged at home on Monday Night Football. And it looked to me like the players just quit. And this is week 1, and your players are quitting on you. This organization is just, it is so inept, and it is impossible for them to compete at a level that the rest of the NFL is at. It's just impossible. No one respects them. You're not getting a free agent to come to Detroit. None. There was a lot of free agents that were available. Not one of them was like, you know what? I'm thinking about Detroit. Seriously, no one thinks about coming to Detroit. This team, this organization is a failure. And I guess I just keep coming at this from a different angle, because I want the fans to just be like, you know what? I'm going to give up on this team until they sell them to somebody who wants to win. And then, I'm with it. Let's get back behind the boys and get back, and let's get to the Super Bowl and win it. But as presently constructed, from front office down, the Detroit ownership, it's awful.